welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling, as you can see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhallow today, where we can see it's rainy in the spring season, full of rain. Well, actually it's not April anymore, so I guess that's kind of not April showers or anything anymore. Anyway, what should we talk about? Should we continue the conversation I had from yesterday? You know, where I was talking about, not actually the writing prompt stuff. Writing prompt stuff went fine. And I don't really have much to add on to that, but we could talk about any time. Right now, we're going to talk about Millionaire Dogs, which is my white whale. If you didn't realise, it was a movie I was talking about in yesterday's episode, where I skipped about like 12 minutes into the episode, and you can see the whole kerfuffle about that. Hello everyone, right now in Fawnhallow, it's 3:40 p.m. on Friday, May 6, 2022. Now, so we have someone staying up at campsite. Yeah, it was basically, long story short, it was a movie I watched when I was very young, somewhere like 5 or 6, and I saw it once, and I really liked it at the time, and then I never saw it again, I think, and then throughout all the years, I've been thinking back to it, just wondering, is this a movie I made up in my head, because I could find nothing about it, because it was a movie which featured animated dogs, and I was just like, and animated dog movies, and things don't come up, it's not Lady and the Tramp, it's not All Dogs Go to Heaven, it's not Fox and the Hound, it's not Oliver and Company, I just could not find what this movie was. Until yesterday's episode, where I tried a different direction than trying to find out whatever this movie was, and had a little think and be like, maybe it was an indie movie. I was pretty sure it was on some mainstream TV channel, but let's try searching for an indie movie, and I found it was a German movie which was dubbed into English, and it aired once on Cartoon Network, which is why I even know about it in the first place, and it's called Millionaire Dogs. You can actually find it on YouTube if you're curious about watching it, and my recommendation. Oh, Becky, you're like my favourite villager in New Leaf, you and Chevra. Yeah, but you can watch it if you want. It's about an hour and a bit long, it's just like usual animated sort of movie length. It was originally a German movie called like Hot Dogs Alf and something like, I can't remember, but it means wow, we're rich. It's basically what it means. I don't speak German, by the way, so I apologise for that regard. We don't know who our visitor is. Is it Crazy Red? Crazy Red, get ignored. Ha ha ha. Sorry. Yeah, you can watch it on YouTube if you want, and basically, I did watch it yesterday. I didn't watch it really all that, like, studiously. I watched it on, as usual, on double speed, and I did copious amounts of skipping through things, because, that's just kind of how I watch things, where I'm just like, this is really long, and I don't actually care that much about the entire thing, so, I'm totally fine. And I watch most things on double speed, which, surprises a lot of people. A lot of people are just like, how do you understand on double speed? I just do. I don't know. And that also might be why I speak so quickly, because in my head I don't speak that quickly, and when I watch my videos back, I watch it on double speed, which might surprise you. But basically everyone who's watched my videos has been like, wow, dear darling, she speaks very quickly, and I've been like, wow, that's weird, because I don't speak very quickly in real life, but point a camera, I suppose, in my direction, and I double my speaking speed. Actually, the real answer is more like, try and be more, when I'm trying to be more entertaining, I suppose I get into a more hyped up state of mind, which, increases how fast I do things, how fast I talk and whatever, and everything just becomes a sort of running stream of consciousness, because I don't want to keep an uneasy silence, I suppose, throughout the video, especially because I don't edit these. But anyway, that's not the point. I watched Millionaire Dogs, and, in my mind, with my childhood mind, from me recollecting it, I had a lot of nostalgia, rose-tinted glasses on, and, I was aware of it in that regard. I was like, I know I'm looking back at it, and it's probably not as good as I thought, as I remember it being, but I watched it. It's honestly actually pretty bad, I would say. Like, it transcends from just, like, not even good for just being like, oh, it's better at the time or whatever. It's legitimately not a very good movie from many different standpoints. So the general plot is, it's a very contrived plot, but, the animated movies, sometimes kids' movies have very contrived plots, so you sort of just, like, roll with the punches. Suspend your disbelief, it's not meant to be realistic. It starts off surprisingly dark about this one dog. I can't remember, it starts to see, it's like Coddlesworth or something, it's not, hold on. Let me search up. It'll probably, just so I can get the names right. Millionaire Dogs movies. Cartoon Network Wiki. That's probably a better way. Excuse me, not a soundtrack. Actually, it has an okay soundtrack from what I recall. It's just a bit strange at the same time. Okay, the 5 dogs. Sherman? No, Chuffy, that's it. His name was Chuffy. He was being abandoned at the top of a bridge. He's like a super smart dog. And and he's on a bridge, and he's about to get like hit by a car or whatever, because he's not used to being a stray dog. He has no idea what's going on, and he gets rescued by this other dog called JD. He's basically the street smart. Basically, he's street smart. He knows what's going on. He's been a stray dog for a long while, and then they have a discussion about how difficult it is being a stray dog in the first place. And then this parrot, what was the parrot called? I can't remember what the parrot was called. Hold on. It's like Elmo or something, but it's not Elmo, I think. Emo, that's it. Yeah, this talking parrot, Emo, who was riding on the back of this old grandma's motorbike, falls off a bridge and like lands near them, and then the other two dogs, Chuffy and JD, gonna be like, oh, he looks like a tasty snack, let's eat him. And then he's like, no, spare my life or whatever, and they spare his life, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna grant you board with my owner. She'll love to take you in or whatever. My head, Emma has, if I recall, a very, very strong Spanish accent for some apparent reason. I don't know why. I don't know if it was expanded upon. He just does for whatever reason. And anyway, Emma takes him to the grandma's house, who she's called Miss Lily. And Miss Lily, as it turns out, takes in a lot of stray pets. And then they meet the other stray dog crew, which, by the way, I forgot a lot of them, it turns out. Like, I remember Bella, who I thought she was a model. It turns out she was a circus performer. So, I remember she just wanted high life, that sort of things. So we have Bella, who's basically this very pretty, basically just, she solely exists to be a love interest for JD. But she's meant to be the pretty one, the beautiful one, I suppose vain, and she's like a showgirl in that sense. We got Sherman, who's, he's the typical, he's like the jock, the brute or whatever, but he's, you got like a heart of gold or whatever. He just like is the dumb jock, basically. And then you got Velvet, who's basically the teenage sort of like, she's quite bratty, she's quite like spoilt sort of thing, but she loves like music, and she's sort of like hip and with it, if I recall. So there's like the other stray dog crew who reside under Miss Lily's home. Anyway, so yeah, they all just live there, and they have a good old time. Miss Lily, she's incredibly rich. She lives in this massive mansion and is unbelievably rich. And then you meet her niece and nephew, whose names I don't remember, but maybe the IMDb page has it. Ronnie and Hanny, that's it. They're basically the antagonists, and like straight from the get-go, they're greedy, they're spoiled, whatever. They're mean. They kind of like hate everything, but they basically just want Miss Lily's inheritance. And then Miss Lily dies, just like out of nowhere, and I was like, whoa, okay. that's, this movie gets surprisingly, I'm not gonna say dark, because it's, it's just like unexpectedly, like it gets a lot of like tonal whiplash around this movie. I was like, okay, she's dead. You actually watch her die, which is kind of like a weird thing. She just like passes away in the night and goes to sleep. And then they were just like, oh no, what are we gonna do? And then obviously without an owner, no one can feed her. And then JD sort of just like saves the day with his street smarts, where he somehow gets a load of bones for all the dogs to eat. Not that dogs really eat bones, I don't think, but still. Cartoons, suspend your disbelief. So that all happens, and then this weird like lawyer comes along, who I guess is like the attorney who's the officiator of a will and upholder of other laws or something. He also doesn't really look like a person. He looks like another animal, and I guess there's a lot of sentient animals in this world. But you get to see like a little bit like an insight into all the dogs and what they do. Like JD just sort of like wanders around the halls, and Chuffy wants to be like the first dog to walk on Pluto or whatever. So he's really interested in like an astronomy and all that sort of thing, and studying planets. He's got like this big old telescope and loves to watch stars. Bella frequently practices like her circus tricks around the mansion. She's quite self-absorbed in that way. She's just like, oh, I'm going to be popular and a celebrity one day, so she like practices her signatures, etc. She likes to be pampered. We've got Sherman. He basically just does like gym. He's just like a gym bro all the time, from what I can tell. You got Velvet. She just like listens to her music, and she just has like a teenage sort of not angsty, but like a that sort of snappy, sassy attitude. She likes to dance, and I think she likes fashion. I don't really remember much about her, to be honest, which is honestly a shock that I remembered her for some reason as one of the characters I remembered quite well for some reason. Because they get to the case of Miss Lily's will, and it turns out she left her an entire inheritance to the dogs for some reason. And also in this world, the dogs can communicate with humans, so I guess the dogs can speak English. So we are sentient in some aspect. It's not like we only speak to each other. Yeah, she left all her fortune to the dogs, and then even Nessie, you're like, what? This is outrageous. We should have got something or whatever, and they wanted to be a state or whatever, and whatever. They leave because they can't fight the law, and then the dogs are just sort of like living in a lap of luxury, I suppose. They just endlessly spend like Miss Lily's wealth because that's they just got introduced to it, and they were like kind of young and naive, I suppose, in some sense, except for JD, who doesn't like indulge on what's his stuff, and he gets kind of like angry at the rest of them, being like, do you think this is what Miss Lily wants? And then like whatever, they have a bit of a spat, but then they immediately sort of like reconcile and just being like, no matter what, we'll always stick together or something. And then they're like, yeah, okay. And then I don't know, JD just sort of like leaves, I guess. He just leaves and doesn't want to live in the mansion anymore, I think. Anyway, at this time, Ronnie and Hanny are looking in dog laws because they're just like, there's no way a dog can inherit this land. We got to find the dog law. So they go to this like library being like, oh, exactly what can we do? And they find this dog law being like, oh, if we keep them off a property for 48 hours, then we can inherit, and then the property gets inherited to the next closest, the next, I think they said closest human being, which doesn't really make sense in my mind, but whatever. But basically, they would get the inheritance. So they're like, okay, so that's our plan. We need to get them off the property for 48 hours. How are we going to do that? So they go to this mad scientist Goose and be like, hey, we need your help. And then this mad scientist Goose is like, oh, you need to come up with a sick plan. This is my sick plan. We're going to appeal to all their desires and, trick them. And then, you're sort of just like, oh, okay, so you're going to come up with some really smart plan or something. It's now the Goose himself turns up in his Dr. Garb, I suppose, to the house with 4 limousines, kind of, and opens it up to each of them, being like, Bella, you want to be a circus? Actually, I'm the one who sent you that letter, inviting you to a circus, get in this limo. And then she's like, oh, really? And then goes in, and then all the others also do the same, because he's like, Sherman, you want to be an Olympian? Here's your way. And they all those 4 get into the limo, and lo and behold, it's a trap. So, and there's bits and pieces of, this is what I talked about in yesterday's episode that I remembered. What's that name? Bella gets taken to under some, like, dockyard or something, gets trapped in some sort of, like, fright ship. I don't really know, where she's going to be, implied she's going to be turned into a fur coat, and I'm like, whoa, okay. Bit creative up in here. Velvet gets taken to some random streets. That's it. I might as well say that all of these dogs were stray dogs before they were taken in by Miss Lily, and I don't really know. I don't really get hers, but that's about it. Sherman gets taken to like a dog fighting arena or coliseum, and what's his name? Chuffy. What happened to Chuffy? Oh, he actually gets put onto like a space training program or something, which is actually kind of cool. So I guess props to the Doctor, actually made Chuffy's dreams, I suppose, sort of come true. And then Emo, the parrot, by the way, also gets taken along as well, because he wants to learn to fly or something, but he can't fly because his wings are too small or something, something like that. I don't really remember. He gets stranded basically at the top of like this giant like tower or something. And then the twins move into the home being like, oh, now it's ours, now we got it. And then they're like, wait, we need to actually keep them out for 48 hours. What if they come back? Okay, so then they like board up everything and chain everything up to make sure that the dogs can't get in. And then they watch the news and they're like, whoa, the parrot's still on the tower. What's he still doing in this town? What if he comes back, etc, etc. And they kind of have a bit of a freak out or whatever. And then I can't remember how the parrot survives. He like, a helicopter comes to like broadcast him because this is a very strange sight, and then he gets caught up in a tornado or something, and then lands directly in front of JD, and then he's like, oh no, JD, we need to rescue our friends. And then JD's like, what? So he goes and rescues them, and you might be like, oh, you're kind of like underselling it a bit. No, he literally just like sort of drives to each of our locations and is like, come on, I'm here for you. Who knows how he found any of them? Oh no, you know what, he went to the Goose first and like threatened him to find out their locations. I can't remember how he found out about the Goose, I'm going to be honest, but I think a parrot found out somehow, but I don't recall. I think the parrot overheard a conversation though, and I don't remember. Anyway, he just like drives to their location. He's like, oh, he drives. It's like, there you are, Velvet, come on. And then he goes to the arena place, and he's like, oh no, he actually was it he wanted to go to the arena, but then he couldn't find Sherman because Sherman was broken out by some other stray animals who wanted to rescue him because they recognized him or something. I don't remember that part. And then he goes to rescue Bella, and you know it's all good, and I know they have like a romantic moment or something, and then they all like meet up again. They're like, let's go home, and they go to Miss Lily's mansion. And they find out it's locked, and then they get in somehow. I can't remember how they get in. Oh yeah, and it's showing like bends the bars, and they walk in. And at this point, you might be like me. You might be like thinking, oh, I guess the twins sort of like evil plans kind of like done and gone now. The dogs are back on the property, and you know 48 hours have not passed. But you know, I guess that would kind of resolve the movie too quickly. So it turns out they still need to. They want to get their revenge or something. So they have this fun little moment where they basically have this sort of culmination of the entire movie, where they like sort of enact out this wild and wacky plan, like playing to their strengths or whatever, to drive the nephew and niece out, who I don't know, there's been cut-ins to their scenes of them doing like funny things. I don't really remember exactly. But then, you know, this part I sort of remembered, all of them get kicked out, and then they're just like, oh, we won, because 48 hours have passed, the dogs, they no longer can, the house is ours. But then everyone goes, wait a minute, where's Chuffy? And it turns out Chuffy was the one who was still inside this entire time, because he was the one who, like, got the twins into a space shuttle and sent them rocketing out into space or something. And it's like, they did it, woo, they can still be millionaire dogs, and they stick together, and I can't remember exactly how it ends, but it's something like that. And then boom, that's it, that's a movie. And you might be listening to all of that being like, wow, that was something, and you're not wrong, that was something. But you might also be listening and be like, that doesn't sound that bad, that just sounds like kind of, you know, just like a typical kids movie. The thing is, this movie is very strangely animated. Is what I'll say. Like, some of the animations in it are incredibly cursed. There's like one scene where they're like all singing a song and like dancing together, and like Bella just like starts breaking the laws of physics. It's like an animation glitch just in the middle of a movie, and then like no one says anything. And a lot of the animations are very clearly just sort of like them doing one action and then it being reversed and just looped back and forth, you know, like a boomerang, or like the boomerang like video clips that you have on social media. I can't remember which social media has it. Instagram, I can't remember. And it's just like, it's so uncanny. It's so uncanny. You just look at it and be like, this doesn't look right in the slightest. It looks so weird. And a lot of the time, the dub isn't even like properly lined up. A lot of the time, the dub, like, the lip sync is just kind of like completely gone. Like, the characters will like move their mouths and nothing's being said. Or like, the characters speak in such like disjointed, like, unnatural ways. I'm just sort of like, what is going on? And then the story just moves with the most bizarre pacing, you know, like whenever there's a bit of tension that starts building up, you know, like, oh, the dogs are all separated, oh no, this is meant to be like the low part of the movie before, you know, the rise and the heroic rescue and the climax, and then zips by in the space of about 10 minutes or something. That entire plotline is resolved, and it took us like half the movie to get to this point in the first place, and I was just like, what? The characterization is also pretty shoddy, is what I'd say. I would say JD, kind of a cool character. He's actually by far and away the best character, and I can't believe I didn't even remember him from my childhood. I suppose, you know, childhood visions of it are quite distorted. JD is actually legitimately quite a cool character, and actually has any semblance of depth to his personality compared to any other character, you know. You know, he's tough love, he's had a rough, you know, like upbringing, that sort of thing, which is why he's so sort of like rough around the edges and that sort of thing, but he's, you know, true to what he believes and what he stands in. He's, you know, good at heart, I suppose is probably what you say, you know, and has values and standards, etc, etc. All the other characters are incredibly one-dimensional. The twins are, you know, kind of amusing, but also incredibly incompetent, which I guess is kind of a point. They're meant to be a comedic sort of pair, duo. They're meant to sort of like constantly fall over each other, and that's, you know, the reason. They're not meant to be that villainous, but then the movie also has its very strangely dark moments from time to time, so it's sort of just like, how villainous... why aren't they so villainous, and why are they so overly top comedic? Chuffy, I basically remember nothing about except for he's like smart. It's his like one defining trait, and that's it. Same with Sherman. His one defining trait is he's strong, and that's his entire character. And then Velvet, is the one defining trait is she's kind of sassy and a little bit peppy, I guess. She kind of likes music, but also she likes fashion, and also I don't remember anything else that she says. And then Bella is probably the worst one of all, where Bella basically has zero personality whatsoever, except for, don't you know, I was a star show performer, a circus actor or whatever, back in the day when she's it's very sort of typical, you know, like 90s like cartoon sort of thing, where it's like, oh, she's meant to be the love interest, right? So she's meant to be almost like flirty and seductive or something, which is, you know, very strange for a dog, of course. Reminder, they are all dogs. But she's very like flirty and sultry, you know. She's got like a Jessica Rabbit sort of hairstyle going on, and she just like constantly batters her eyelashes and speaks in like this tone, and she's basically just a damsel in distress throughout the entire movie. And it's just so, like, it's just some of the lines they randomly say. It's just so bizarre and so strange. Like they're like they're little like. Yeah, just lines, I suppose. They have like in bits and pieces. I wish I could remember them better off the top of my head, but they were so unmemorable a lot of times. They didn't stick in my mind. Oh yeah, and I completely forgot to talk about Emma, who was just the most random character in the entire thing, which I assume he was meant to be a comedic relief, you know. I don't really know why he was in the movie, I'm going to be perfectly honest, but he existed. He was like, okay. He was just sort of like, I don't know how to describe it, but he wasn't particularly funny, is what I'll say. I'm sorry to say, Emma, you were not particularly funny. I suppose you were meant to be quite pitiable, in a certain sense. Oh, do you think we should try and catch another coelacanth? It's been a while since we've attempted such a thing. But yes, he's obviously quite pitiable, I suppose. He's meant to be a comic relief, but except for he's a very strange comic relief, in which case when you, instead of laughing at him, you just sort of go, okay, alright, and that's kind of it. The twins are, you know, as I said, they're grossly incompetent at literally everything, it turns out. And they're like at each other's throats the entire time. That I suppose it's meant to be kind of funny, but you know, they just kind of got a bit boring after a while, I suppose is what I said. But really, characterizations, you know, all aside, because again, it is a kids' movie. You know, you can cut it some slack because kids don't always pick up on all the depth of characters. But you know, it doesn't mean that it's completely free from criticisms in a certain sense. But it's just its animations are so uncanny. Like, go watch a movie and go like skip to a random part of it. It's so uncanny, the animation. It looks so incredibly strange that I'll go look it up right now and describe it, because to be fair, I watched it on double speed. Maybe that helps smooth out some things, because if you play things at not just such a millionaire, what am I doing? If you play things faster than they were meant to be played, it tends to make things look a little bit better, because it tends to make things look a little bit smoother. But I was watching the entire movie being like, oh, that's it. There's so many like recycled shots just over and over and over again. Like they play one shot, switch to something else, and play the exact same shot again, just so they could say more dialogue, and it was just sort of like, what? You couldn't just. It was so strange, and the entire time I thought, and I don't know if I am or not, but I was like, I wonder if what I'm watching is basically a super zoomed in version of a movie, because it feels like the framing and all the shots are so strange a lot of the time. And it has its moments of good animation, but it has a lot of bad animation as well. Like, I don't mean to say you watch it at all and you're just like, oh, this looks terrible from start to finish. It's more like you watch it and you're like, okay, this bit's like fine. And then you watch a scene and you're like, what was that? And you watch a scene and you're like, oh, that's not too bad. And then you watch another scene and it's like, what is that? It's a very inconsistent movie. You know, it's back and forth. I don't know what to think of it. I guess it was amusing in its own right, but I don't know, it just sort of, it shows the power of rose-tinted glasses, I suppose. When you look back on things, you're just like, oh, look how wonderful this was, and then you know, from my childhood, and then, you know, I paid more attention to it, and I'm just like, what is going on? Hello, Mina, what's up? Vitamin D, I have a perfect gift for you. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Alrighty then, it's a denim cap. I hope you find it useful, dearie. Thanks, Mina. Do you think that's a coelacanth? It's a rather large shadow, so it could be. Just close your eyes. Get ready to pull. And I pulled, just immediately. Not a coelacanth, it is a sea bass, so it's the right size, I think. Yeah, I don't know, the pacing was a bit strange, if anything. But you know me, I tend to care more about characterization, I suppose, if anything. And the characters were very one-dimensional, shall we say. It's just very strange. But obviously, it was probably done like a small animation studio and a small budget, a small company. It is an old one as well, so you know, a lot of things have been learned about animation and story writing, I suppose, since then. In this regard, so I don't want to criticise it too harshly, because obviously I could not do any better. It's still leagues better than what I could do, but it's sort of just like it was strange, I suppose. It was that weird sort of cognitive dissonance where I'm just like, wow, I remembered this so fondly in my mind. But watching it now is sort of just like, this is very, very strange. I don't know what to think of it in the slightest. If anything, it's kind of amusing. But the characters' designs themselves are very strange, because obviously JD just kind of looks like a cartoon dog. But then it's just like, why does Velvet have like a full set of hair? She's got like an updo and everything. And obviously Bella as well has like the whole Jessica Rabbit hair, which is, you know, not particularly normal for a dog. And you Sherman looks like just like a normal, like a big old boxer dog, although I suppose incredibly muscular compared to usual. And Chuffy's just like kind of looks like a normal dog, although with a very like overemphasized moustache. It's sort of just like the thing is like, oh, how do we make a female version of this animal? We'll just give her a wig. At least they didn't give her lipstick or a bow, I suppose. So, you know, you got to give him that much. So we're just skipping forward through. And here's the goose. You know, here's her style. I don't know. Here's them talking to the goose. Another sea bass. Them living by themselves. It's just very strange. I can't believe the plan worked. With literally just, oh, they're being abducted from a limo. And then suddenly, oh no, it turns out it was bad. So how long until JD rescues them? So that happens around 45 minutes, where it's like, oh no, they're all separated. How will this be resolved? And then here we go. JD's been introduced. He chases a goose, and then he rescues Velvet. Sherman's rescued. He rescues Chuffy, and it's been 10 minutes, and he rescued Bella. So it literally was basically in the space of 10 minutes they've all been reunited after being separated. And then we just have this large moment at the end where it's the only amusing thing where it's just like, oh, you know, let's kick him out again. You know, Home Alone sort of style for some reason. And honestly, it is kind of amusing. You know, the plan's quite amusing. Like, they pretend to have like a ghost of Miss Lily come back and haunt the twins for their misdeeds. And, you know, it's nice to see them like as an ensemble work together. That's like the big payoff for all these ensemble sort of movies of a cast where we all have different like strengths and weaknesses. Being like, oh, you know, this is working together and finally being able to cooperate again, you know, resolving their differences and, you know, using each of their special talents in a certain way to actually prevail over the antagonist. It was like, that's a long build up to just this moment, I suppose. And the build up was very strange. Like, I don't mean to trash on this movie. Like, it's very solidly an average movie. It's not, I would say it's not like horrifically bad. Like, I didn't watch it and be like, oh, I hate this its own existence or anything. You know, it's not like I watched it like I watched, I don't know, like Boss Baby or something, where I just sort of strongly disliked it. I watched it and I was just like, it's not good, but it's not like, it's sort of like, I suppose this is a way to say it, it's bad in a boring way. I don't mean to hate on things, because it has its good moments, certainly. But it's sort of just like, I guess it's more of a cognitive dissonance of me being like, wow, I really wanted to find this movie for so long, because I was like, I remembered it being so fun, I thought it was like a hidden gem, and it's just sort of like, it's a hidden rock, certainly, as in it exists, and that's basically as far as it goes. I guess it was just disappointing, you know, I was just like, oh, I don't really know what to think about all this. Like, you know, I thought there was more to it, but I guess that's it. I suppose now I'm here I can actually see how it ends, because I very much don't remember how it ends. So this is the plan. They try and get out those people, but it takes a heck of a long time somehow. Oh yeah, there's this one scene as well where they're trying to kick him out, where Emo's swinging on like the pendulum of a grandfather clock, trying to make him like freak out, being like, oh no, what time is it? And they're like, oh, it's like 9, 10, 11. Oh yeah, and throughout the entire movie, for some reason, the sound is like totally off point, where like the music sometimes gets incredibly loud and it makes it incredibly difficult to hear exactly what the characters are saying, and sometimes the music feels very like off. It doesn't match the tone of what the rest of the movie's about, like, or what the exact scene is, and you're sort of just like, what is going on? Oh yeah, here we go. Then Chuffy wins. Oh yeah, the twins get arrested, I guess. I'm not really sure what law they broke. I guess, well, trespassing on property or whatever. Oh yeah, that's how it ends. Actually, has quite a nice ending where they're like, you know, this is what Miss Lily wanted. She wanted this place to be like a home for all sort of stray animals to come in and reside if they don't have a home or whatever. And it's like, oh, you know, that's kind of like a noble cause or whatever, I suppose. I don't really know where this came from, and it seems like a big 180 change of heart, seeing as the moral ends up being, you know, don't chase your dreams, I suppose, or whatever. they all just, I don't do what they wanted to anymore, and then it just sort of works out. I don't really know. Don't think about it too hard, I suppose, is the sort of motto in it. I suppose I understand now why this movie only got like a 5 on IMDb. Do you think it's on Rotten Tomatoes? Let's see. Rotten Tomatoes. I'd be shocked if it was. Millionaire dogs. 1999. 20% audience score. My word. But no reviews. So, not that well approved, I suppose, on Rotten Tomatoes. Ballad of Nessie. You might also like. I've never heard of this movie. Anyway, it was just very strange, is what can I say about that entire thing. Interesting in its own right, shall I say. Maybe give it a watch if you're curious about its own entire thing, but I basically did tell you the entire plot, so I guess you kind of don't really need to. It's just, I don't really know what to think of it. I guess I got the satisfaction of finding my white whale, but, you know, the actual answer I got, it turns out, was not as interesting as I thought it was going to be. But anyway, we're going to round off this episode here, so if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Any likes, comments, description, shares are greatly appreciated. Join my Dear Darling Discord, follow me into us down below. Hope to see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now.